and I want to submit that Jesus and Thomas are holy agitators. Let me make my case. I want to put a spin on how we view Thomas. This is going to connect to what? Tell me your name. Morgan. It's going to connect to what Morgan said. How do we typically label Thomas? Doubting Thomas. Ain't there a song? There's a song about Doubting Thomas, right? Thomas has been ascribed this negative connotation around his doubt. But the truth is that I think there's something deeper here. This line of thinking makes sense about Thomas being a doubter and that being a negative thing if we believe that Jesus' death was only about Thomas's personal salvation. And then I can imagine sort of like what you or someone over here did. It's like, boy, I just died for you. Like, why are you doubting me, right? That would make sense if that's the only way we view Jesus and Jesus' death. But I want us to put on our prophetic imaginations, to put on our justice-soaked eyes. If Jesus' death was unjust and about righting the wrongs of all of history and the future, why would anyone believe that Jesus had been raised? You'd better be asking questions. Let's think for a minute. Imagine during the summer of 2020 that George Floyd came back from the dead and someone came to tell the news at a protest rally in the streets or at a vigil where folks were lamenting the brutality of his murder. Do you think George Floyd's mother and siblings would have believed this? Okay. What about the organizers of the uprisings that were happening across the road? Do you think they would believe that news? You know, some of you, like me, were probably some of those organizers of demonstrations in your city. I wouldn't have believed that news. Why? Because it is the scheme of empire, of the principalities and the powers, of the domination and death culture to desensitize us of its brutality. And justice is so often denied by the powerful. So in the face of injustice, doubt is a righteous response to anything that appears like easy solutions and quick fixes. I choose to see Thomas's doubt as a refusal to be desensitized to injustice and any ploys or promises by the powerful to give scraps instead of justice. If we view Thomas's doubt as a refusal, this is another way of saying that Thomas is agitating the disciples, shaking up any naivete that they might have, waking them up from any kind of desensitization going on in their consciousness. But Thomas wasn't the only one agitating. Jesus turns right back around to agitate Thomas. But not only Thomas, Jesus actually agitates them all. Because remember, moments before this scene of all of the disciples in this scene, they had been locked inside of a room because they were afraid of persecution. Jesus had to appear before all of the disciples in order for them to believe, not just Thomas. So Jesus asked them, are you sure that you believe? Are you sure that you believe? And he does this because everyone is not going to see the promise or the pain that had to be overcome to get to that promise. I see Jesus saying to the disciples that God has the final word, not Rome. That Jesus is there to meet them right where they are so they know this truth without a shadow of a doubt. But let's be clear. They have an assignment to carry on this movement of love and justice. How is this movement going to grow and accomplish its mission if every person has to see Jesus the way the disciples have seen him? Jesus is agitating them. He is challenging them to see the stakes of this moment, challenging them to not wait in fear or in doubt or naivete for someone else to fix things or bring the solution. Jesus challenges the disciples to step up, to accept the responsibility, to be the witnesses, the missionaries, to grow this movement in all of its power and victory. Jesus and Thomas are holy agitators.